Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a simple floral. We're going to be doing sunflowers and some echinacea red, what is it? Purple echinacea, yeah. Sorry, couldn't think of the name. But anyhow, we're going to do it in kind of a loose style today, and I'll be showing you step by step how to do it from start to finish. Got my husband, Mark, with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's man in chat for our live shows, so if you've got questions while I'm painting, you can ask those, and I'll try to answer them. Let's get started. Alrighty, so I'm using a Pro cotton canvas today. This is the Fredrix canvas boards that I really like to use. They're thin, but they're really strong. They've got a hard coarse inside, so they don't warp, which is really nice. This one's got a little bit more texture. I'm going to go with kind of a juicier, more thick application of paint today, so this one will really grab on that paint really well for us today, I think. Go over our brushes. I'm going to be using a variety of brushes. I'm using the more textured Aspen series brushes from Princeton. These are a little bit, they're kind of simulate almost like hog's hair bristles. They're firmer and but they don't get soggy in water like hog bristles do. So I like them a lot. All right, so we've got a 10, 8, 6, and 4 Filbert. The 4 Filbert is a short Filbert. And then I've got a 6 Eggbert, which is just like a longer Filbert. And then I've got a 6 angle, a 6 bright, and a number 2 round, a number 4 round, and a 2/0 round. So those will be just for the smaller details and things. Really, you can use whatever brushes you've got. It doesn't have to be these exact ones. These are just ones that Princeton sent me. I love their brushes, and they're a great sponsor for our channel. So thank you to them, and thank you to Fredrix for the canvas. Also grabbed a Deerfoot stippler. I'm not sure if I'm going to need this or not, but I thought I'd grab it just in case. So this is a 1/4 inch Deerfoot stippler. We've got a lot of kind of fuzzies going on, but we're going to simplify this quite a lot so that it's going to be real sort of impressionist style. We're going to focus on getting our contrast right and doing some really strategic placement of highlights and things and showing our brush strokes so that it's real painterly style. Okay, let's go over our colors. Strategery, I know. I ran out of room here. I had to go around the corner here. They start out really spaced out and then they get real tight. It's like when you sign your name on something and you get like they get real close and then they just go around the corner. That's pretty much what happened here. Burnt Umber, Burnt Sienna, Quinacridone Burnt Orange, Yellow Oxide, Indian Yellow Hue, Cadmium Yellow Medium, Phthalo Green Yellow Shade, Cobalt Teal, Phthalo Blue Green Shade, Ultramarine Blue, Dioxazine Purple, Quinacridone Magenta, Cadmium Red Medium, Light, and Orange. And then this is Cadmium Orange. So Cadmium Red Light, Medium, Cadmium Red Orange, or Cadmium Red Light, and Cadmium Orange. Okay. Unbleached Titanium, Titanium White, and then this is Gloss Glazing Liquid. Not sure that we're going to need that that much of that, but we're going to have it just in case. It kind of just helps if we thin down our paint. I'm going to start with my largest brush, so just grab whatever brushes you've got that's kind of large. I like the Filbert for doing some background work. My fingernails are dirty, sorry. Just like looking at my fingernails going, oh, that's gross. So I'm going to dip it in the water, and we're just going to use a large brush because we want to kind of create just some movement in the background here. We're not going to be too fussy about it. So I'm going to grab some Cobalt Teal and some Phthalo Green and a little bit of water. And as we work, we're going to grab other colors, but I'm just going to go ahead and start with that color up here. And we're just going to really be free with this application of paint back here. So I'm going to grab a little bit of Phthalo Blue now. Get a little bit of darker color. And this is really textured. So what's going to help is if I spray it with a little bit of water, and you'll see how it'll go on a lot better for me. I'm going to grab a little bit of the glazing medium. That way it'll stick, but see how much better that's going on there. So these heavier textured canvases, that'll help if you add just a little bit of water, a little bit more water to your paints too as you go. And I'm just going to paint it on straight from the brush. You could even squeeze your paint onto the canvas. I do that a lot with my kids' classes, or when I used to do kids' classes. Haven't done it in a while. I would just squirt a couple of colors onto their canvas and have them smush it around with the brush. Spray it with water, put a couple paint colors down, and then let them kind of just push it around and create different colors and let them merge and do different things. So
smushing is kind of like a combination of smearing and pushing?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure we clarify these advanced art terms for all the newbies.
Smushing, yes. Taking your brush and pushing it around. That's pretty much it. All right, just now, most of this is going to be covered up by flowers, but we do want this green underneath just so that if we see through the flowers that we're putting on top here, that we're going to have some color underneath. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm going to go ahead and grab some Ultramarine Blue for this back corner here. Is pretty dark down here. And we are doing, bright colors on top, so we'll have to probably add a lot of white to the colors when we put them on. I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of yellow in this area just because that's going to be our sunflower area. So I'll just kind of do that in with some yellow. And if you're getting these areas where you're, I don't know if you can tell there, where there's white little bits, that just means that the paint isn't getting down into those cracks. So if you make it a little bit more fluid, see I picked up the glazing medium, and that's going to get down into those cracks for me really easily. So it's doing it up here too. So I'm going to get some more water, either water, glazing medium, just something to make the paint a little bit more fluid, and it'll seal up into those, kind of just pours down into those cracks.
Got a question real quick.
Covers. Yes.
So spraying the canvas panel, does it have the same effect as spraying
leafy-like things? Okay, go ahead. What? Spraying the canvas panel. Sorry.
Is it the same as spraying a stretched canvas? Does it have the same effect?
Yeah, pretty much. With the canvas panel, it actually stays on the canvas surface a little bit longer, I think, because it doesn't evaporate off as quickly. There's no backside that is pulling the moisture away. But you can get around that by spraying the backside of the canvas with water as well. On a canvas, you obviously can't do it here. I'm going to get a little purple for this bottom corner here. Go really dark. So yeah, that's a good point. But canvases work just as well, and I definitely spray either one of them with water. Okay, just using the edge of the brush to create some kind of leafy type things up in here. It's just going to be kind of the suggestion of maybe some leaves and such, and it's going to look pretty awful at first, so that's totally normal. I watched something the other day, and the artist was talking about, procrastinating, and how, you've got this idea of this perfect, artwork in your head, and as soon as you touch the canvas, you ruin it. Like it's no longer perfect in your head or in your, on the surface, because it's not finished yet, and that's the nature of unfinished artwork, is that it's not perfect, yet. It takes it time to start to look good, and that can be real daunting for especially beginner artists to get to this stage and go, oh my gosh, I'm doing something wrong. This looks terrible. And your brain is like screaming at you that you're doing it all wrong. Can you take that, hun, for me and try that? But that is totally normal. It's normal for your paintings to go through these ugly stages. You really, really have to just learn to trust the process of the painting, that it probably, you know, a painting could take you 3 hours. And if you're in, you know, the first 15 minutes to an hour, it's going to look really bad. And it's probably going to look worse before it looks better. And if you kind of know that going in, you can kind of help yourself, psych yourself up for it, and not get trapped in that negative mind space where you're thinking, you know, that you're doing something wrong and this is not right. And then what you tend to do when you get into that mind space is to start to, you know, ad lib and like try to finish parts of the painting before they're ready to be finished, and then you end up with a piece that either is flat or the layers are too heavy in certain areas and they start to do weird things. The acrylic starts to dry too quickly and that kind of thing. All kinds of things can happen. While I'm talking about painting and ugly stages, we've got on my Thursdays I do a private lesson with my patrons that are the $10 level and above, and right now we're working on our moose, and so you can see his antlers are not done yet, but we've mostly finished his face and things. His eyes definitely need a lot of work, but this is after 4 hours of work and we're still not quite there, so you just have to kind of hang in there with it. And fortunately, this one we were able to kind of finish the background in stages, and so parts of it started to look good before we get to this stage. You know, this is actually looking pretty good, but you know, the antlers obviously still need some work. So we've got one more week to finish it this month. We'll work on it once a week, all month long, and it's a lot of fun. We have a good time in that with those patrons. They get their own Facebook group too, so they get to share their artwork in there with me, and I critique it and that kind of thing. All right, so this is dry now, so we've got a nice blank canvas to be able to go with our next step. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this long Eggbert brush here, and I'm going to put in some of our tall grasses. And I'm going to grab the yellow and the green. The paints are already starting to get thick. I really wanted to use a thinner paint today, so if you've got like a student acrylic, like a Liquitex Basics or something like that, you might grab that instead of this heavy body acrylics, because these heavy body acrylics can be almost too thick to do some of these techniques, I feel like. So I'm going to just go through here and maybe add just a little bit of white so it shows up. Oh, there we go. Just throw in some grasses. And I'm not really worried about the placement too much. I'm just kind of going with what feels right. You know, you don't have to overthink this part. We're going to get more strategic about where we're placing our brush strokes at the very end, but at this point we can do a lot of, you know, just kind of random brush work and play with it a little bit, see what happens, see what comes out. I'm going to get some teal here, making the teal with the phthalo blue, phthalo green. Maybe add some white to it. Maybe get some cobalt teal. Phthalo blue, phthalo green. There we go. That's a pretty color. This paint, or this image, you know, is kind of nice too, because things are going off the canvas at different places. It's very kind of randomly placed flowers, so we can kind of be a little bit more free with our brush strokes and move things around a little bit, maybe play with the placement of some of the flowers. Doing some of the teal over the top here. And mainly what I want to do is kind of get rid of all this area back here that is looking a little bit, you know, unfinished, because it's only got one layer on it. So just making sure that I've got kind of a good covering for that background area. Got a lot of the background of the canvas kind of showing through in some places. Let's mix the cobalt teal with this yellow green here. Do some of that over here. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the ultramarine blue and do some stems with the ultramarine blue. There's these purple flowers that are kind of popping around different places here. So just doing some little, try to keep this thin. If you press down really nicely flat with it, you can get some finer lines with this. So, and if they're not coming off your brush, then add a little bit of water. The fluid paint will spread more easily with lines. It'll go on a little bit better for you. Okay. So I think I'm pretty good with that. It looks like a lot of nothing yet, and just so kind of just know that. Yes, I promise we'll get there. Well, let's grab, maybe let's use a little bit of the Indian yellow. That'll create kind of more of a olive toned green. My yellow and green here, get some white, and then I'm going to go in here and kind of highlight some of these leaf grasses. Phthalo blue and a little bit of burnt umber here. That will create a dark teal. Use that around my sunflower here and create some dark around the outside of my sunflower. I'm trying to kind of blend it into what we've got going on here so that it doesn't look like too obvious. It's good. Okay, just making sure I have some really dark areas. Let me grab the purple and I'm going to add that to this color and do some really dark purple right here. There's just some random areas that are really dark. Sounds like a marching band. Marching band coming through the... Or they're practicing out here in the neighborhood.
Somebody asked burnt umber or burnt sienna?
Burnt sienna. Burnt sienna. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. I could probably send it to Mark to dry again at this point. But I think I've got enough dry up here that I'm going to go ahead and kind of try to work on this area and slowly let this kind of dry up here. So I'm going to make a coral, and I think I'm going to use a pretty good amount of Quinacridone Magenta, some Cadmium Red, and then just a little bit of yellow. And then I can test the color by adding some white. Oh, that's pretty. And if I needed a little bit more coral, I can, or more, you know, yeah, like peach almost. I can add a little bit more yellow. There we go. It's a nice color. Might add a little bit more of the cadmium red. Keep playing with it until I get it kind of where I want it to be. Maybe even a little bit of the cadmium orange. Okay, that's good. Cadmium orange helps a little bit. Okay, so there's kind of the back side of a flower over here. I think I'm just going to throw in some color here and let it go off the canvas. And then grab some white, and there's some pink. Want this several shades lighter. Okay. See, this is what I'm talking about with the brush strokes. So I want to deliberately kind of leave these brush strokes a little bit more kind of obvious, not blend everything out all the way. Get a little bit of the darker magenta and red for this part. Okay, and then there's another one right here. Now this one has got a big amount of this green here, so I'm just going to have to paint over it and hope that it doesn't blend with it too much. I'm really pressing my brush down to get the full width of it. I could probably use a larger brush, but I think this one's working okay. Quinacridone Magenta, Cadmium Red, a little bit of orange. I'm going pretty dark with this because then I'm going to highlight it afterwards. So this is going right up to that other flower and overlapping it a little bit. Probably brought that petal out a little bit too much there. I'm just going to widen all of it out a little bit. This is where it's blending a little bit with that green underneath. So I can pull some of that off, wipe it off, and then get some fresh paint to try to lay over it. But it's just going to blend with it until it's dry. So this is what I was talking about with where you can, kind of start to mess yourself up if you try to sort of fix things or try to do too much too soon with the painting, because it really needs to dry in between its layers, and if it doesn't have time to dry, it does these kind of weird things where you get like muddy colors and things. All right, so that's going to be as much as I can do with that for now. Do like that, and then there's some green on this one, so I'm going to do this kind of star thing right there on that. Get some of the brighter color. Okay. Wipe that out really well. And get a little bit of the reds. There's some of this red kind of peeking through over here in some places. Seeing some down low, some of the darker color down here. So just little hints of it peeking through my grasses. All right, that's good enough. Let's go ahead and grab the Cobalt or the Indian Yellow Hue, and I'm going to mix it with this color. So this is just the magenta and red here, but I'm just picking up a little bit of that color. I don't want it to get too red. I want it to stay orange. So here I'm going to add it back in here. And there's a bunch of little yellow flowers back here. I'm seeing some up here too. Okay. And then there's one kind of overlapping this, going off the canvas. I'm going to bring it in a little bit from the edge so that I can see more of it. Just put it right there in that corner.
What is a good substitute for Indian yellow?
You could probably use the cadmium yellow and a little bit of the orange to get something somewhat similar. The thing with the Indian yellow hue is it's transparent, so if you're using cadmiums, those are opaque, so it's not going to have that translucency, which is fine, but you can get something similar. It's just it's kind of a gold color, so it's kind of a golden yellow. Okay, so going in and laying in some of these colors here, I'm going to get a little bit of white. I'm going to start to kind of work on my sunflower with this. So same Indian yellow hue, maybe a little bit of the red in there with it. And one thing I want to see is if there's anything that's going to be behind the sunflower that I want to put in first. I'm seeing some like little leafy things and branches, so I think I'm going to go ahead and grab the angle brush here. Grab some of that yellow and green. Just spray it again, especially spray my mixes so that they don't dry. When you flatten out that color like that, it dries like 3 times faster. So you really have to keep it wet to keep it workable. Okay, so I'm just grabbing some of the darker color on this side of the brush. So I've got the light color on this side and the darker, a little bit darker color on the other side. I should have put the darker color on this side so that the highlight color is on the top. So I'm going to have to work it this way. So I think we're going to put that echinacea right in here. It's going to fill up this whole area right here. So this will be its stem right here. Pretty wide. And then the sunflower's got a leaf that's right in front of it. Here. Use a little bit of that darker color on this stem. Maybe get some of the turquoise and do a big leaf through the paint here now that it's drying. I don't really like that. Let me see if I can get that off of there without taking off the background. I think I made it too wide. Okay. Okay, let's try that again. Maybe get a little bit of burnt umber. I feel like it's kind of a brown green almost. Okay, that'll be good enough. I'm going to use the tip of the brush. I've got this paint loaded in here and I'm just going to create some little random leafy type shapes. Just by dabbing the tip. I've got the tip down facing me, so when I push down on it, it's going to create these kind of leafy shapes, and if I rock it back in the opposite direction, it'll do kind of more pointed tips. Lots of leafy flowers here. Or stems for flowers, I should say. Okay. I'm going to get a little bit of the darker color and just pull through this way on that leaf to create a little bit of textured. Get some white. Do a center stem on it. And I can kind of tap along that edge. Highlight it a little bit. But I'm really not wanting to do too much detail, so that's about as much as I'm going to do there. Let's go ahead and grab a little bit more, do a few twisting brush strokes. A little bit lighter color. Okay. Now, really, at any point that you want to, you can stop, dry it completely, and then draw in your flowers, which may make it a little bit easier for you to place them. So I'm just kind of going, playing it by ear here, but trying to get an idea of where I want this flower to be. So it's going to be a little bit off from center. So if you find your center mark on your canvas, that'll be kind of the outer edge of this sunflower. And it's curving pretty large. The petals generally are almost as wide as this, but these ones are kind of pointing up towards us, so, or maybe they're not as long, so they seem a little bit shorter, but somewhere in there. These petals are not as long as the ones that are going to be up this way. These will be our longest ones back in here, and then because of the way it's pointed, we'll have shorter ones down here. These ones are pretty long. The sunflower shape is pretty basic petal shape, just kind of a pointed tip, round body, and then it tapers again and before it attaches to the flower center. Okay, so I think that's about good, and it's going to kind of cover up about halfway up this leaf there. Okay, and then our echinacea, let me get a yellow pink chalk. It's going to go right in here. This will be our center for it. We did our stem right here, so it should be kind of centered on that. And then our petals are going to go out, straight out from the sides and angle down this way. Almost touch the leaf, so that's about right, I think. I think we did pretty good on that. And then the rest of this is all just kind of very random, so I'm not going to draw in the rest of this. Just do it as we go. All right, let me get some of the Cadmium Red Light. This was the Indian yellow with white here, and I think I grabbed a little bit of this reddish color that we'd mix. I'm going to get a little bit of the Indian, or the Cadmium Red. Sounds like a weird color, but it'll be good undertone, I think, for our yellow flowers. So we've got to cover up all this green, so having this kind of reddish undertone, I think, will help us. Reddish orange. And they're stacked, kind of double stacked. There's one layer in the back and then another layer kind of in front. So you can kind of start with the back layer if you want to. And then we'll do the top layer on in a while. And kind of keep an eye on the direction that your petals are facing. So these ones, they should all attach kind of in a straight line. So all of these should be pointing kind of towards the middle of the flower here where they're attached.
Real quick, which brush are you using right now?
This is that Eggbert still.
The Aspen Eggbert?
Yes.
I don't have anything witty to say. Sorry. I was really trying there.
It's an unfortunate name.
So do you want to hear something that you can't unsee about moose?
What about moose?
So our friend Dave up in the great Canadian North
Yes.
told us what they call mooses. Meese? What do they call them up there? It was plural moose.
I think moose.
Moose. They call them swamp donkeys.
That's great. Swamp donkeys. Love it.
So you need to put that on your title of your video.
Swamp donkey. Yeah. I know. They look like they, I feel like deer are the same, deer and moose and like even, I don't know, llamas and things. They all seem like, they would be like really sweet. And they got kind of sweet faces or kind of dumb faces almost, but they're not, they're pretty mean. You don't want to mess with them from what I've heard. So. All right, so we'll just let this dry because this has got a lot of going on. I'm going to go ahead and just use this color and tap it in and around the center just to start to kind of cover that green up. But the green is actually pretty good undertone because there's some green in our center. So it will not be a bad color to have there. I'm going to get some yellow and mix it with this. It had green there. Picked up. I didn't want the green there. Just the yellow. There we go. This is what I was saying. We're going to be more painterly. So this is going to be kind of just a interpretation of what we're seeing. It's not going to be literal. Let's go ahead and get some of this purpley color here for the center. I'm going to pull it from the outside, wipe my brush off here, and just kind of let these two colors merge. This was that kind of purpley blue that we were using in the background. Maybe grab some of that teal. I think that works pretty good there. It actually needs to be quite a bit wider though, I'm seeing, so I'll have to widen out the center a little bit. Center really kind of goes all the way to this outer edge here. Get a little bit more of that. This is where the center is. Starts right here. Right now it looks like a Gerber daisy because of the colors in it. So you could leave it that color if you like those kind of flowers. Okay. I see one more petal that right in here that I kind of missed. That sort of comes out. Down. So I'm going to get the yellow. This is pretty much, well, no, it's not dry. Let's see if it's dry enough. I don't know. I'm going to get the yellow and go over the top of this. Get some yellow. Just going to pull it down in. Ideally, wait for it to dry. But it's actually not too bad. It's mixing with this color a little bit, so I don't mind it. Okay, just kind of hitting the tips of the brushes, or the canvas, tips of the petals. Okay, so we'll let that set. This is dry enough, I think, to go ahead and go over it. Get some yellow. Pick up this color that's got a little bit of the Indian yellow in it. And I think I'm going to switch brushes because this one's still a bit too big for this flower. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this one. This is the 4 round. Get it wet. Just get a little bit of water in it before you start to paint. And I'm going to press this flat so I get kind of more of a flattened shape on it. I'm going to use that as the shape of my flowers. I'm just going to set it down and kind of pull towards the center. And if I wiggle it a little bit, it'll kind of spread the bristles out a little bit too before I start to pull. Take your time. I'm kind of rushing it a little bit. There we go. Going back in with a little bit of the more red color, pulling in and around, shaping, defining them a little bit. Okay. And then the center of it is kind of, let's get the Quinacridone Burnt Orange, a little bit of Burnt Sienna. I still have this yellow on my brush. I'm just going to create this kind of rounded fairly large round center.
Are you talking about me? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
So
no judgment.
I figured out the success of our channel.
What?
That you sit there and paint while we just talk about food and chat. So it's like
Get all the foodies.
Yeah, it's like a combo channel.
I like it. Kind of like book club for foodies. Just talk about favorite recipes and things. I like it. I use some of that same color around that. There. I'm going to get some burnt umber and dab that around. Okay. Let's see. Let's go ahead and use this brush here. So this is dry enough now that I can add my highlights to. It should stick. So get the white and go back into this pink that we had. Mainly, really kind of mainly magenta here with this white. Create a light pink. And I'm going kind of right, not quite to the edge. That'll make that flower middle look like it's kind of standing out a little bit. Like it'll make it look like it's curved over a little bit if we kind of don't go all the way to the edge with that color. Like that. And I can get some of that darker color. And pull from the outside up. All the way around. And anywhere else that I want to kind of blend it out. Okay, and get this little round brush here. Get some magenta and a little bit of purple. Kind of 50-50. And just dab in the center here. pretty small. I'm going to get the bright red and mix it with some magenta. Use the tip of my brush to draw some, there's these like lines through this. Okay. I didn't leave my background around this. Really supposed to have like background in between these petals here. I closed it in too much. I'm just seeing that. So I'm gonna try to fix that. It's gonna look weird right now, so don't judge. Don't judge yet. We'll get it there. No judgy.
Not over here for sure.
What'd you say?
I said not over here for sure.
Okay. All right, getting some Quinacridone burnt orange and this green blue here. I'm just gonna kind of fill in the center of that. It's actually kind of a little bit more of a dark green underneath. And then on top, there's more of this orange color. So I'm getting the Quinacridone burnt orange for the top part of the flower, maybe around the sides. We'll just let that dry. This paint is not drying very quickly on here today. Just good and bad. Just making it harder to do multiple layers. Get a little bit more highlight there. What are you laughing at?
You just can't be happy, can you?
No, exactly.
It dries too fast. It dries too slow.
Yeah. Well, in this case, I guess it's because I'm putting it on thicker. It's just drying slower because it's a thicker application of paint. Okay. Let's go ahead and I'm going to grab this little Filbert here. And my yellow. I'm definitely going to need more yellow. Yellow and some white. And I'm going to go back over these areas that I've kind of put this peachy color. Some yellow flowers. It's really hard to tell what they are in the picture because they're kind of blurry, so you don't have to go into too much detail here. Just kind of dab in a little bit of random yellow here and there. They're sort of flat topped. They're probably yarrow or something like that. Those flowers that kind of grow in a kind of round, flat topped shape. Get some of the Indian yellow hue. I'm going to put some of that in between here and there to create some depth. Okay. It's still wet. Wet is wet. Bit of yellow in the center of that guy. It looks like there's a couple of like spent flowers down here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get some white and just do some white. Random white flowers. See, this is where I didn't see this white under like right up against this pink here. I could have done these first and then done the pink flowers, but I think it's fine. Okay. And let's get the unbleached titanium, a little bit of burnt umber. And I'm going to kind of put in the little flowers here, and I'm just going to kind of tap. There's a ton of these. And kind of angle my brush so I'm getting kind of flatter brush strokes here. It's better. Not so much brown. Getting some purple and some ultramarine blue now. And some white. Come on. Alright, I'm gonna do some of the stems of these purple flowers here. These are over the top of that echinacea though. I need to do those later. It's kind of a catch-22 with these because some of these are behind these flowers and some of them are over, so just gonna have to do them in layers and kind of look to see what's behind other stuff, what's on top. I think, yeah, let's go ahead and do these. Alright, let's go ahead and do these tall purpley spiked flowers here. I'm going to get the magenta and the purple, create a violet, maybe get some of that blue as well. And go all the way to the top here. Going over the top of this guy here. And it kind of curves this way. Fills in this whole middle area here. All the way down. Okay, so like that. Let's get some white. And we can do this while it's wet with the white. getting a little bit more pink this time. And just adding little highlights around, leaving a little bit of that dark color showing, pulling out from the outer areas, and then the petals are going to kind of all merge in towards the center. So just kind of make sure you're kind of pulling them all in towards the center. The ones that are kind of turned to the side are going to, you know, if it's all facing us, they're all going to be kind of cupped open like this. Some of them will be overlapped a little bit, but as they're turning towards us, they're going to make these different shapes. So you're going to see more of these kind of oval or long, almost lines and things. So just make sure that you're kind of turning your brush so you're getting these different shapes out of it and getting more kind of natural blossoms. They're not all going to be facing us and being perfectly, you know, centered. So just kind of dabbing, changing the direction as I go down. And dabbing a couple out and then kind of filling in the outer part of the flower with kind of longer brush strokes like that. Okay, pretty happy with that. Bring that to another, out that way, and then get some more white even. More pink. Go in with some pink. Now the tendency is to overdo, so just kind of, as you're doing these highlight areas, really kind of make sure that you're leaving some of the dark showing. If you do too much of the highlights, then it just kind of all looks flat. So as I'm going back in here, I'm kind of really trying to think about which petals are over the top, which ones are, you know, going to be catching the light. You can look at your reference photo to see how their you know, colors are shining. Get more white here, and the very tips of the petals are going to be almost white, so I'm just going to dab very small little, and those highlights are not going to be all along the whole petal, it's just going to be part of it. So I'm just going to kind of come through and dab in little sections, that little random brush strokes that pull those petals forward. Okay. Good. We're going to have other stuff on top of these, so these will just be kind of peeking through here and there. And I probably filled in way more than what is in the photo, but that's all right. All right, going to get some magenta and some white now. And I'm going to get a little bit of ultramarine blue. There we go. And then get a little bit more of the magenta to have a darker base color. I'm going to start with the darker color. I'm going to start to lay in my petals. And using this Filbert makes it really easy to get these kind of rounded tips. So I'm going to use the edge of it and pull it in. And where I want it thicker, I'm just going to press down a little bit harder. way to the, or actually leave, see, I just filled that in like I did over here and I shouldn't have, there's green showing through, so bring it all the way in but leave a little bit of that green in between, like that. These are all kind of going in different directions too, so it kind of makes it fun. Okay, every now and then stop and like take a look of your outline and make sure that you're not getting any of it too, off. But I think this is looking pretty good. I think these could come out a little bit further. Oops, a little glaze there. Fun. Okay. Now let's get some white. I'm going to go ahead and kind of try to highlight these while they're still wet. I think they'll blend nicely for me. Get a little bit of the white and just pulling in the opposite direction from the tip in. Some of these are overlapped, so those ones we're going to leave dark. How are we doing on time? An hour, so not too bad. Not too bad.
I think there's plenty of time left.
In the day.
Yep.
Nice.
But someone once said it keeps slipping. Into the future.
Yes, yes. Very true when you're painting.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I'm painting. Lose time altogether a lot of times. And the neighbor's starting a bit lawnmower. He waits till we start our shows and I'm like that's alright. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that for the most part. We're definitely going to highlight some more on there, but that's a good start. I'm going to get the Quinacridone Burnt Orange, just dab in some dark orange bits. Let the tip kind of create some jaggedy lines. And let's get the Cadmium Red Light and the orange here. And I think I'm going to switch this small brush again, the 2-aught. And pull down. Get some water there. Okay. Go ahead and do the little fuzzy center of this one. Get some cadmium red white here. Maybe a little bit of magenta. Do the darker color kind of on the bottom there. And then just sort of smush them around. If you put enough paint on there, you can kind of smush them together. Okay. A little magenta. And then I think right here needs to be real dark right here. So we get more of the darker purple. Just darken that up. Alright. It's not my favorite, but it'll do. Alright, let's see. So let's work on this yellow here. For our sunflower, I'm going to get some of the cadmium yellow and gold. Still got a little bit of this orangey red on my brush. Just go back here and add a little bit more of the darker oranges, reds. Whoops.
Got a question.
Let me get a little bit of the quinacridone burnt orange with the cadmium red light. Okay, yes, question.
The person wanted to know what was the dark color that was used for the echinacea flower.
The petals or this part? This part was quinacridone burnt orange, and then the petals were the magenta and a little bit of purple, I think, or no, magenta and a little bit of ultramarine blue. Okay, using that red orange. Just really need to darken up that center coming out so that we've got some contrast. So it's just looking a little too bland. Get some yellow. And I'm going to go ahead and clean off its face here since I have zero space to work with. And most of that's dry. Trying to go around the part that's still got wet paint so I can use it, but like all of this is dry.
You know, it seems to have the same effect, you scraping the paint
What?
on artists as it is for techies when they watch YouTubers peel the plastic film off of stuff.
It's like just satisfying.
Just a satisfying sound of...
Yes, it is. Okay. I left a little bit of that because it looked like it was still a little bit wet. There, let me go ahead and spray everything down again. Okay, let's work on these. This little guy, he's bugging me because he looks really bad. Cadmium yellow and Indian yellow. I'm going to get a little bit of white because I know we're going to need it to cover up that dark area. White makes any color more opaque, so if you're... Okay, I need this round brush that I was using before work better. I'm just going to go over them like they're not there and hope that kind of covers up enough of it that there's just a little bit of that dark kind of peeking through in places. It won't look like it's outlined. It's the goal, at least. There we go. Okay, so we got a little bit of the dark shown through there. It's good. I'm gonna get a little bit of the yellow oxide here and just create some dark streaks through here. Some yellow in the center and get some of the burnt umber, quinacridone burnt orange. Dab that all the way around the edge. That'll kind of hide any of the imperfections of those lines that we had there too. And then a little bit of yellow. And just like right in the middle of that, there's like a little bit of yellow. I'm just kind of using the tip to blend out those little dots so they're not so obvious. Okay, so that guy's pretty much done. Done, 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 done. Still need to work. Those are pretty much done. Maybe get a little bit of the brighter yellow and white. Use those to add just a little pop of brighter color to some of those yellow flowers. Indian yellow with this. Having the cadmium yellow as a base will allow the Indian yellow to be more opaque. So if we just did Indian yellow over this, it wouldn't cover anything. It's just too transparent. So just going to pick out the petals that I want to highlight and bring those forward. Okay, some of them in the background, I can just like dab a little bit of the tips with a little bit of yellow. Just using the very tip of the brush, just kind of draw and then lifting just before I get to that middle part there. I can come up opposite if I need to connect it a little bit, but I don't have to get too close. Get a little bit of that the cadmium red light and use it to define some of these petals too if I need to kind of, if I get too much of that light color, separate out some of these that overlap a little bit. These ones over here are looking a little bit more orangey in general, so maybe use a little bit more of this orange yellow for them. Done sunflowers several times, so this is just another way of doing them. You know, we've done sunflower that took us like 4 hours or something, maybe longer, I don't know. And we did every single petal and highlighted every single little petal, so you can do, you know, be a little bit more careful if you want to, but I think that I like this kind of style for this painting. Like, I just liked the open, kind of more free brush strokes. I think it works. Still looking fairly realistic, even with kind of more painterly approach. I think it's working out. Just dragging it and using the edge of the brush. So I'm holding it so that the pointed edge is facing down into the petal so that I can get a line where it ends. You know, if I want to draw in a line there. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and use this color and just dab in just a few little highlights on those dark tips that I just did. There's like little yellow tips on all those dark. So when I went in with the Quinacridone Magenta, Quinacridone Burnt Orange a little bit ago, so just go back in and try to catch those with a little bit of yellow. And I think he's pretty much done. I'm not going to do a whole lot more with him. I might highlight just a few of the petals, but that's about it. Make sure that I've got, you know, opaqueness where I need it. You know, if you're seeing any of the background colors through, or you know, that kind of thing, and you can go back in and, you know, just make sure that you've covered it, you know, because I had like an area here where I can see that green through it, so I don't really want that. And I'm pretty happy with that altogether. I think I'm going to get a little bit of bright green. So grab a little bit of green and just mix this color with it. It'll help that it's kind of the same yellow as the flower. You'll find, like with flowers especially, that they'll repeat their colors so that, you know, this yellow, even though the center is green, it's still got that yellow in it. It's a really good way of mixing your flower colors. Instead of kind of reinventing a whole new color, you just use what you've already got and then add a little, you know, nudge it in one way a little bit. Okay, I think that's really, I like it. So let's go ahead and let's do one more layer on our echinacea here to give it a little bit more. I need to get all that yellow out of there. Still too much yellow in there. And my thing is all dirty.
Yeah, I was meaning to talk to you about that.
Flip that so I don't get my brush in there when I'm trying to wipe my brush off and get a bunch of paint that I don't want in there. You were going to say something? You were like,
yeah,
get a handle on that.
Yeah, come on, seriously. Be a professional, would you?
I try. One of these days, people are going to realize I don't know what I'm doing. That's the fear, right? I know.
Shh, we got them fooled so far.
Especially when I first started the live streams, I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Oh my gosh. Alright, so there's like one of these purple spiky flowers over here. It's actually over this way in the picture, but I'm moving it over there. And then, oh wait, I needed to do the purple. Alright, I'll get back to it. Here, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of, I've got this brush on, color on my brush. And if it looks dark, it is. It's a little dark, so it's fine. The center's actually got a little bit of green in it too, so I'll probably have to add some green to these. But these are really fun, like these blue spiky. They're like thistles, I think. Really pretty. If you've got a favorite like flower over here, you don't want to cover it, that's fine. Just move it to an area that you don't mind covering. It doesn't have to be the same exact as the photograph. Big one here, big one here, big one here, here. Okay, just kind of going up, making sure I caught all the major ones. I think that's good. Get the magenta and white, and mostly white here. Lots of white. And I'm going to press that brush nice and flat and try to get out. And I'm not going to go too heavy with the paint. If I have too much paint on here, I can't drag it like I need to get those kind of streaks that I want. So set it down and just kind of drag out the rest of that paint so that I'm just the tip is catching the canvas, pulling that paint off. This is where that textured canvas really helps, because it's really grabbing that paint off my brush. So I don't need to apply a whole lot of pressure. I can control it a little bit easier that way too. It's pretty. Pay attention to where you're pointing these. You need to go back into the same spot. Okay, I think that's good. And this will dry a little bit darker too, so, and we can always go back in fact I might go ahead and do that while I've got this sitting here. I'm going to go ahead and mix up a dark red with the Quinacridone and Cadmium Red Medium. And I'm just going to kind of go back over this direction. And it'll add it darker. Just smushing that out a little bit because it got a little bit too much. I can go back in the opposite direction, kind of push it back again. Okay. Yeah, I like that red. It's good, going right in there. And I'm going to get a little bit of purple with the Quinacridone Burnt Orange. And some of these spikes are coming down in between these petals, so I need to kind of dab in and around these and kind of make sure that they're kind of settled in right there, really dark. Okay. Grab this smaller brush here. I'm going to do one more layer. I'm going to get some yellow, cadmium yellow, Indian yellow and orange here. It's a little bit transparent, so it's going on kind of thin. Get a little bit of white. There we go. Mainly just at the top. I just want a little bit of a highlight on there. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to get this brush here. This is the number 2 round. Get my white. And I'm just going to mainly just do white, I think. And do my little petals on these. Just dab in little dabs. Could probably use that smaller brush again, but I don't want to have to draw paint in every single little petal. Just going to dab and leave just a little bit of that dark color showing through. It's going to create that impression that there's kind of flower centers there, some depth in these white flowers. It's hard to get depth in white flowers because they're, there's just not a whole lot to work with, but I'm going to use that either yellow or dark, in this case brownish tone. We can get some depth. And kind of laying these on in a horizontal sort of layers. So the petals are kind of flattened a little bit. That helps that kind of look of them kind of facing up this way. And if I want any of them to kind of be a little bit more obvious, I can come around the bottom of them and kind of pull up. Create a few little more obvious petals. Okay, I think that's good. Kind of made a big huge blob here. Didn't leave any of the green showing through. I tend to do that. I tend to cover every available space with flowers if I'm given the chance. So I did that there. It happens a lot with me. So I'm gonna try to separate them out by putting some highlighted branches up here, and I'm just gonna go over the top of some of these and put some branches back in. Got a little bit thick right there. Okay. This is where I was thinking I might use the stippler brush here. I'm going to go ahead and use this green for sure to start with. Get a little bit. This is just yellow and white and green, I think. Just dipple some of that green in. Not too much because I don't want it to cover up all that dark. Mostly towards the top. Some of the little bit darker green. All right. I'm going to go ahead and use the angle brush here. Ultramarine blue, a little bit of purple. I got the phthalo blue too. Press that flat, and I'm going to make stems to all these. And they're going to go over the top of the other flowers. There's a couple more over here that's going to be over the top of this guy. Okay, get a little bit of the white and just go back in and kind of try to catch the middle or side of these. Highlight them a little bit. Just a few of them. Doesn't have to be all of them highlighted. Your stomach's growling there, huh?
Did I do that?
Talk to us. Like, when's she gonna be done? Okay, so an hour and a half, not too bad. So far, so good. And get some white and add it to this dark blue. And create these little spikes out the sides of the flower. There actually is a lot of green in them too, so I'm going to get a little bit of green. Create kind of a teal. Get that cobalt teal and mix it with it. These are darker, kind of where they come out. And they've got like spikes too, so there's like, they're not just smooth. They kind of do a little bit of jaggedness. Just kind of muss them up a little bit.
Is there a substitute for Cobalt Teal?
Yeah, you can mix it with phthalo blue and phthalo green and some white. It's similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's close. Close enough. It's teal. These are definitely more stylized than realistic at this point. But hopefully they'll look better once we get some petals on the actual blossoms. So they're not wanting to go on there, so that tells me that I need to get a little bit more water. They'll go on more smoothly. My paint's a little bit more fluid. These ones that are around the sides are much shorter. They're coming from the back side, so they're not seeing the whole thing. Okay, I'm just gonna have to guess where these ones are gonna be because it's not there yet. Get some of that green. There's a third one that's right here, but I'm not going to add it. So I just don't want to cover up so much my flower. Here's Spence in the mother room, you know, the dog. Fitz. Our puppy is in obedience school and he's not doing very well. I need that Mark. Come with me, maybe he'll listen.
I told you how well he did with me today, so
It's true.
that's not working.
Willful little puppy. Okay, so now I'll get into some of that darker color. I'm gonna tap in around the base. Go straight down and see if I can get those bristles to kind of separate out for me as I tap. Create these little dots that you're seeing. I'm just using a little bit of the lighter blue. Oops, I didn't do these ones over here. That's what we're seeing from all the way around. These little ones we're seeing from the top down. Okay, getting more white here. And a little bit of the teal with this ultramarine blue. Just creating these little dots that are kind of forming the flower head. They're separated out a little bit so we can see through to the inside of the flower just a bit. Kind of different colors here, so I'm gonna do several layers of this, different colors to kind of get the right look. And I'm going outside the edge of the border of the flower too, because they're kind of fuzzy along the outside edge. It's not a smooth edge. They come out and they kind of actually fuzz out a little bit. Prickly. Okay. I'm gonna get some yellow and a little bit of the green Well, actually, let's get the Cobalt Teal. It'll make a pretty green. Get some more white. Gonna use that in here. Little baby ones have more of the green. Ultramarine blue. It's actually kind of turning turquoise because I had that green in my brush, but that's all right. Okay, and then I want just like ultramarine blue. Pretty dark, get some glaze here. It's got purple and other colors in it because I ran out of my ultramarine blue here. Maybe a little bit of magenta, just brighten it up, and a tiny bit of white. I'm going to use that toward the bottom here. I need it bright enough, so I need a little bit more white. Basically just dabbing here. It's really nothing to it. Just holding the brush really upright. It helps if you're holding it like perpendicular to the canvas, and then that way you can really control where it's going. And you're getting better kind of stippling effect because the bristles are kind of spreading out as you tap. What you thinking, hon? Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Was I supposed to be paying attention?
No, it's fine.
Okay, good. Whew. Just.
Yeah, you're just kind of leaning back in a way that, like I thought you were. Don't know. What do you think about it? Get some of that teal. Get a little bit green. Is that purple? Blue? Okay, I'm going to zoom out so I can see what it looks like. All the way, yeah. There we go. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. try to see anything major that I change. I'm looking at the values mostly. I think I probably could do another layer of that lighter color on here on the flowers, but I think I want to use a bigger brush. I'm going to use the 2 round here and just do one more layer of the like really bright. I want to go even brighter than I had before. So this is the before, so I want to make sure it's a lot lighter than that. Run it through, and then I should be able to tap it to get kind of some fuzzies. I'm just going to tap it to load it, and then that way it's going to spread out those bristles a little bit. I'm just going to tap. Oh, that's much better. Okay, I like that. Probably use this bigger one when you do yours. If you're following along, don't use that small one. I think this one is more accurate to the size of the flowers. Yeah, that's nice. It's bringing those out quite nicely. Yeah, I like that. Come on. There we go. Leave a little bit more of the blue on some of them if you want a little bit darker. Get some of the dark and tap that in too. I don't know why I made that one so big, because it really should be smaller since it's farther away. So when you do yours, maybe make your ones, you can adjust your sizes however you want, but the back ones really should be a little bit smaller and farther away.
Maybe it's big boned. And make him stand in the back.
Mm-hmm. I know that trick. I like to do that myself. All right, I'm highlighting just a few of these stems coming out. They're not stems, the little flanges on the flowers there that are sticking out.
Okay, I'm going to ask this only because some people are freaking out about it in chat.
What?
A stem for the echinacea.
It's there. It was, yeah, it's kind of disappeared.
I was right. Mona was right.
I did it before, but yeah, it kind of disappeared a little bit. I'll do it again. I'm going to get a little bit of the yellow oxide and a little bit of burnt sienna and orange for this side.
Now I'm going to charge all those people who were shouting at me in chat twice what they paid already. So.
Well, it's good though. It wasn't very visible, so it probably needed it. It's fine. Don't charge them extra.
Oh, come on.
I asked if there was anything I missed.
All right, fine. You are too nice.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. It was fun. Loosen. I don't really see anything else that, I mean, I could add some leaves and stuff, but I don't think it It really needs it. I like well, there are some, actually I do want to add these little things now that I see them. There's those little kind of seed pod type. I don't know what they are, but they're kind of neat looking, so I want to add some of them. Here, a little bit of white and my green and yellow. And I'm just going to kind of go from here up and create some seed pods. Right there. There's actually all through here too. Just do a few of them. You don't have to do them all. And then some unbleached titanium. Kind of like a little tube. There's a little bit of like a reddish color, so I'm going to get the Quinacridone Orange, a little bit of the unbleached titanium. Here we go. And just use that around the sides. There we go. Okay. Fun. I think I got that pretty dark, good dark enough. I'm looking at the reference photo and kind of, you know, going back to this. This probably could be brighter up here. So I'm gonna get my actually get the cadmium red and cadmium orange, or cadmium red and cadmium red light, and create a really bright red here. More of the cadmium red light. And just use a little bit of it at the very top here. And then when I'm kind of run out of paint, then I'm just kind of tapping it lightly over here, so it's kind of causing a little bit of color, but not much. Get a little bit of my white, some yellow. The yellow will keep your reds from turning pink. So if you're wanting to make a lighter red, but you don't want it to turn pink, you add a little bit of yellow. Make it. Okay, that's good. I feel like this could be a little bit darker too, so I might go a little bit more magenta and red here. And just pull up a little bit with some of the darker color. A little bit more contrast. But, all right, I think that's it. We'll call that done.
Sweet.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. So right on the money. So 2 hours right on the dot. Let me sign it.
I think we need to come up with some better names for your paintings. I mean,
Why?
you name almost all of them done. So, you know, we'll work on that, but yeah.
Yeah. I think I like it. So zoom in here and look at the details. They're really not, you can see, you know, we're seeing the brush stroke, you know, in its entirety. That's kind of the idea with this, you know, not getting too fussy with blending and things, but leaving the brush strokes and just kind of hitting them where we want those bright details to happen, and that way it kind of looks more natural. We blended in a little bit on that one, but we're still seeing pretty good, especially this one, you know, we're seeing lots of good little juicy brush strokes, and I think that's the whole idea of this style. I like it. So if you try it, you can share it with me. I've got all kinds of social media links down in the description. We can share. I've got a whole Facebook group set up for sharing of my tutorials, where you can go and so I can see them really easily. And we're going to be back on Tuesday night. We've got, what are we painting Tuesday? Oh, an owl, another owl. So this will be our second in the owls. We're going to do it large. And it'll be a kind of companion piece to the owl that we did last month or the month before. I can't remember, but anyhow, it'll be very simplified. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So I hope you join us for that. And
Traceables.
Traceable is available for this at patreon.com/AngelaFineArt, as well as if you want to sign up for that moose painting that we're doing for the $10 level. We just did our, let's see, I don't have it handy, but our $5 level bonus video was just done. It was a black cat with the pumpkins. That's the $5 level. And if you sign up, you get all of the past bonus videos too. So we've done like cornucopia. There's a $5 level painting that we did a couple weeks ago. So, and the $5 level also includes traceables, and it includes the finished painting, a photograph of my finished painting, and the reference photo. So all of that for every single painting. So you'll have the reference photo, the painting, and the traceable to be able to go off of and make it a little bit easier to do your painting. So yeah, hopefully if you're interested in that, that's available. And the bonus videos are definitely like more on the intermediate to advanced level. So if you're just a brand new beginner, I would say just get a traceable. You're fine. Unless you really need the reference photos too, then you could do that. But I usually post the reference photos on Instagram as well. So if you're, you can look down on my Instagram page. We take them off as soon as the finished painting is. So if you're planning on painting it, you might copy the reference photo before we take it off of Instagram, because we, once we do the finished painting, we take the reference photo off and put just the finished painting. I don't know why I'm rambling now, so let's get off of here. Get Mark some food for his grumbly belly. And thanks. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us for a couple hours, and we'll see you next time. Bye.